Race 2 of the weekend for the Renault Clio Cup Europe. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Welcome to what promises to be another lively race. Yesterday, there was drama right the way through the 25 minutes plus one lap, and it continued for many an hour later. The results were finally decided upon at about 7:45 last night after multiple penalties were applied for track limits, for contact. And it was a real shame because that sort of spoilt a little bit of what was a great race, because it had been absolutely full of drama. And although track limits were abused to an extent, clearly because of the penalties, the quality of racing and the driving standards were largely very, very good indeed. And there was only one real incident that sadly took out Kevin Jimenez late race. His car hopefully has been repaired, ready to go. It's looking a little bit different in the colour scheme as they've got replacement panels, but it's on the grid. This is the man that won yesterday, David POUGET. He didn't cross the line first. He got a penalty of his own. He got 10 seconds for track limit abuse, but he still, because of all the other penalties, came through as the race winner. I'll tell you more about the results of the race in a moment or two, because first, let's have a quick look at the highlights of yesterday's race and try and piece it all together. It was a really lively race yesterday, and this is how it looked. So you had Jaap van Lagen on pole position, his blue and yellow car pounding away from pole position. Anthony Girardot in the all-blue livery, David POUGET in the white and yellow, all part of that leading battle pack. The yellow car, Marc Guillot, the red of Nicolas Milon, the championship leader. And these were the five that argued over the leading positions pretty much right the way through. Marc Guillot in the yellow car, the all-yellow, very Renault in its livery. He was on his toes, working his way into contention. He briefly got the lead. The orange car of Thomas Piccard was involved in the thick of the action as well, but faded away. Girardot made this move on Jaap van Lagen, elbowed his way through, and he managed to get the race lead. But Marc Guillot got up into second, and up onto two wheels went Van Lagen. Guillot then put himself up front, and Girardot was the man behind him. Then Van Lagen in third. Girardot just fending off the pack as he got the lead back, coming down towards bus stop chicane. David POUGET trying to work his way into contention as well. But Girardot versus Van Lagen then became the story of the race once more. Those two arguing over the race lead and the battle pack behind as the race entered its final few minutes, becoming ever more intense. Van Lagen, having led early on, wanted that lead back. And as the cars worked their way through pit-pat, Thomas Piccard went wide. There were some good scraps going on lower down the field as well in the gentleman drivers and the challengers class, one of which unfortunately rather did for Henrik Seibel. Then there was contact coming out of Blanchimont that sent Girardot into this massive slide. How he saved it, no one's entirely sure. But then, as he tried to get down towards the chicane, there was a tap in the back from POUGET that put him into the back of Van Lagen that sent Girardot off the road, so he skipped the chicane, came out in the race lead. This was Kevin Jimenez's accident with a bit of help from Jerzy Spinkovic, and off into the barriers went Jimenez, a lot of damage. And so as they came to the line, it was Girardot from Van Lagen from POUGET with Milon in fourth place. The result was POUGET from Guillot from Andreas Stucki, who was miles back. So, lots of penalties, as I say, post-race that changed the order, and the stewards were kept very, very busy indeed. But they looked at every track limit situation, they looked at all the bits of contact and made sure that the result in the end was completely fair. And so David POUGET has now a fifth win of the season to his name, and not only that, but he has just edged away a little bit into the lead of the championship from Nicolas Milon, who slots in behind him. The way that the Clio Cup Europe works is that there is one overall competition, and that includes every round, and then there are sub-groups which have their own individual championships. So, for example, the Spa event is part of Group C, which takes the points from Hockenheim, Hungaroring, Spa, Red Bull Ring and Monza as a championship within a championship, and there are these four regional competitions as well. Marc Guillot is leading in Group C, and as I say, David POUGET is the overall championship leader. POUGET and Guillot are on the front row. Nicolas Milon and Anthony Girardot here, triple winner this year, lining up on the second row of the grid, and then THIBAUT, BOSSY and ALEXANDRE, ALBOUY are on row 3 of the grid. We've had the 3-minute board, the grid starting to be cleared. David Addison trackside, and this is going to be a very lively race. Of that, there should be no doubt if yesterday is anything to go by. Although there was a little bit of rubbing, as I say, driving standards in this championship all season have been far, far better than you might anticipate. And if you think about certain one-make categories where every car arrives in bits at the end of a race, it is a real credit to everybody involved. THIBAUT BOSSY here, lining up 5th on the grid. He got 6th in the end yesterday. part of that leading battle, but never quite having the pace to really work his way through. But he was always on the back of the train. And THIBAUT BOSSY is another of those drivers that could well be in the action today. The last car on the grid is that of Gabriel Alonso, who got a 19th place yesterday. There is the Challengers Cup, incidentally, for the under-25s that was won in yesterday's, as I say, rather rumbustious race by Nicolas ALBOUY. And he was classified 8th overall, as you look at Alexandre ALBOUY, who is another of the challengers. The championship being led by Kevin Jimenez, and the winner of the gentleman drivers category was Horn, from Horn, but Horn as he races, and the GPA Racing driver 14th overall. There's Nicolas ALBOUY, the Chefo Sport car. Jaap van Lagen I mentioned in the highlights, and he's going to start 10th on the grid. The very experienced Van Lagen. He got as far as Formula Renault 3.5 in single-seater racing, and has been very successful in Porsches, in Carrera Cup, for example, and in the World Touring Car Championship. Thomas Piccard lines up on the grid, and the engine's now being fired up. The grid is about to be cleared. They will have one final formation lap to get a bit of warmth into the Michelin tyres on which they all run. These cars, 1330cc turbocharged engines, 200 brake horsepower, 4-cylinder but 6-speed sequential gearboxes, and a championship that has given great racing all season. They started at Nogaro in the sunshine, went to Monza for one certainly very wet race. Manicourt came next, then Hockenheim, which was also rather rain affected, Misano and Paul Ricard for the Grand Prix, Hungaroring, and most recently Imola, before coming to Spa. And the championship all finishes in mid-November in Barcelona. So the cars then about to be released, and is this going to be another victory, a 6th of the year for David Pouget? Nicolas Milon there in the red car, one to watch. So the very experienced Clio racer, multiple Clio champion and preparer. You'll find a number of cars on this grid come from the Milan Competition stable. He will certainly be a driver to keep an eye to try and work his way up from that 3rd rank on the grid as the cars now make their way down into La Source. Let's look at the grid. David Pouget and Marc Guyot then at the front. The 2nd row is where you find Nicolas Milon and one of his customers, Anthony Girardot. Marc Guyot is another out of the Milon stable on that front row. The 3rd row, THIBAUT BOSSY from his team of TB2S, and lining up 6th on the grid for GPA Racing is Alexandre ALBOUY. ALBOUY is heading the Challengers class for the young guns. 7th on the grid is Nicolas ALBOUY, who was the winner of the Challengers Cup yesterday, and Thomas Piccard lining up alongside the Czech driver who got 7th in yesterday's race. Then on the 5th row there is Jerzy Spinkovic, who was 9th yesterday, got a 30-second penalty for that incident with Kevin Jimenez, and 10th on the grid, 4th yesterday, Jaap van Lagen. On the 6th row there is another of the Chefo Sport cars, STEPHAN POLDERMAN, who was a retirement yesterday, came into the pit lane. Kevin Jimenez was classified 20th, but with all the damage done, he didn't get to the end. Andreas Stucki is on the 7th row. He was classified 3rd yesterday in his self-run car. And then Paul Coquine, number 29, another TB2S entry. He was 10th yesterday. On the 8th row there is Guillaume Mayo, 12th yesterday, and René Steenmetz, who got involved with Henrik Seibel, so copped a penalty for it. On the 9th row, Mariano Alonso, 15th yesterday, and Michel Fay, who was 18th ahead of Henrik Seibel and Horn. And then it is Gabriel Alonso who will round out the grid. So David Pouget leads them round, heads down into Bruxelles. Everybody vigorously weaving to get some warmth into the tyres. It has just approached 17 minutes past 10 local time, so it's a coolish morning at Spa. The sun has yet to break through, but at least the road is dry, which is always some positive news. Cars head downhill. David Pouget, the 42-year-old former Peugeot racer, was the 207 Cup champion back in 07, had a good few years of success in Peugeot racing before he came into Clio's in 2016, both in the Spanish and the French championship, and there's a lot of crossover between those two. He then had a Clio Cup Spain title in 2019 and was runner-up in the Spanish and 3rd in the French championship last year. Marc Guyot is in the yellow car, just going out of shot, a triple Clio Cup France champion. Last year he raced in the Alpine Europa Cup, sorry, 2 years ago in the Alpine Europa Cup to be 2nd. Last year he was 5th. He's also raced in the Ligier European Series, but coming back to Renault Clios this year, and he lines up 2nd on the grid. He's had 2 race wins this year. A bit of a late start in terms of winning, but he got one at Paul Ricard on Grand Prix weekend, and he also had a win in the first race at Imola. So Marc Guyot now banking points regularly. Nicolas Milon starting third on the grid. There's not much that Milon hasn't won in Clios. He has also, like POUGET, been a Peugeot champion, but he was the Clio Cup France title winner in 2009 and has never really looked back, because he has been 6 times a French champion. He's also won the Euro Cup. He has won the Spanish championship as well. So if you want to know how to win in Clios, go to Nicolas Milon, because he can drive them incredibly well and he also prepares them with great success. So the man that is third on the grid now, like POUGET, on 5 wins. He's second in the championship though, so he slipped back 1 spot from how he arrived here. Anthony Girardot lining up 4th on the grid, the Milan Competition car. He was runner-up in the Clio Cup France championship last year with 3 race wins. Anthony Girardot there in the dark blue car, making his way up towards the line. Thibaut Bossy comes next, number 85, Thibaut Bossy, another regular from Clio Cup France. And then Alexandre ALBOUY comes 6th on the grid. Nicolas ALBOUY out of Clio Cup Spain lines up 7th, and Thomas Picard will round out the leading 8 on the grid then, as the cars come from the chicane onto the grid. 1 by 1 staggered grid for Clio Cup Europe, and let's see whether this race is as good in terms of the action as yesterday, and whether they're a little bit better behaved in terms of the track limits compared to yesterday. But it's a perennial Spa problem. It's nothing to do with Clios per se. Lots of races have had track limit dramas over the course of the weekend, whether it's been races or actually qualifying sessions, free practice, you name it. Certainly out of the chicane where they've just come, it's an incredibly low curb, so everybody therefore takes advantage to run over it, and the race director and the stewards have to clamp down on that. They see the finish line, the start line a little bit further up the pit straight. The lights change, we go racing, and a good getaway is made by David POUGET then from pole position. Marc Guyot not quite so quick out of the blocks, and it means that Nicolas Milon in the red car has a long look up on the inside line. They're going to La Source for the first time. Milon goes third, it's going to be Girardot 4th, Thomas Picard is 5th. And they dive downhill then for the first time. Clock ticks, it's 25 minutes plus the regulation lap at the end. POUGET leads the way, and Nicolas Milon trying to go with him as they drop downhill into Eau Rouge for the first time. Good start by POUGET, so David POUGET leads, and Marc Guyot had dropped back a length, but he's easily made that up going through Eau Rouge as Guillaume Maillot's multicoloured car there climbs the hill. And look, Guyot gets the toe, he takes Milon with him, and this is exactly what we had yesterday, a great slipstreaming circuit is Spa, especially this section on the run up towards Les Cornes. They go side by side for the race lead. POUGET's white and yellow car versus the all-yellow entry of Guyot on the outside line. Milon is right with them, and Guyot takes up the race lead. Milon and POUGET rub a little bit as they go through Les Cornes. POUGET's got his nose in front, outside for the mid part, inside for the final part. Mirror gets knocked askew, and Milon goes around the outside. David POUGET doesn't know which way to go to defend it. He goes and puts Girardot up onto the grass there. That was all a little bit overly defensive. Anthony Girardot on the inside line scrabbles by, but David POUGET, who was on pole position, is now 4th, and there's contact with Bossy. Oh, it's going to be one of those races, is it, as they drop downhill? You can tell it's race 2. There's more repair time after it, because already it's getting a bit rowdy. So POUGET with the mirror hanging off drops downhill. It is Guyot in the lead. In second place is Milon. Third is Girardot, and that is Bossy going straight on. Has he done something to a tyre to cause all of that, or was that just a mistake? He runs way out wide, but I just wondered whether the car wasn't a little bit low on the left front corner. Certainly it's dropped him way out of that leading gaggle as the leader, Marc Guyot, heads Nicolas Milon in second place. There's Girardot then in third. Anthony Girardot just ahead of David POUGET. Next in the queue comes Thomas Picard. Jaap van Lagen, the Dutch driver, goes through behind them. Another man to watch is going to be aboard number 72, Kevin Jimenez, the Challengers Championship leader, as he in this rebuilt, repaired car tries to work his way up from 12th on the grid. So as the leader comes through, now Marc Guyot it is up front, and he's got an advantage after all of the rubbing that was going on coming down through Bruxelles and down towards Speaker's Corner. Guyot has got away. Nicolas Milon is the best of the rest in second place from Girardot, from POUGET, from Picard. And what can he do then about the race leader? There's still a long way to go, and now Milon needs to hustle along and try and get into that slipstream to gain some of the time back again on the climb up the hill to Les Cornes on the next lap. But it is Guyot ahead for the moment as Thomas Picard's orange car gets up the inside down to the chicane. Girardot attacks Milon. who of course is the man that runs his car. He defends from POUGET in the GPA racing entry, and up over the timing line they come. Lap 1 in the book. Yesterday we got 10 in the 25 minutes plus the regulation lap, and the lead gap is 1.2 seconds then. Guyot to Milan. Third as they drop into La Source is Gerardo. Fourth with the mirror hanging off is POUGET. Fifth and sixth, Picard from Van Lagen. Kevin Jimenez is up into 8th place, so the progress is coming. And an incident involving Milan and Gerardo and POUGET will be investigated after the race. So that's already referred to the stewards, and they say, well, we're going to be a bit busy for the next 25 minutes, so we'll look at that later. So the story might rumble on again, depending on whether anybody is deemed to have done something deliberate and wrong, and therefore cop a penalty. Now, Milan is being attacked by Gerardo. Look, in the blue car on the inside line. The leader is Marc Guyot, and David POUGET getting a tow from the pair ahead of him. Does Gerardo make a move on the inside? Yes, he does. Up the curb he goes, but Nicolas Milan stands his ground. Picard is up alongside POUGET, and that is Milan having a big old slide. Gerardo goes past him, and Nicolas Milan falls into 3rd place. Picard right round the outside of POUGET as they come down towards Bruxelles, and Marc Guyot, if he does look in the mirror, will be seeing all this, thinking, that's it, you carry on squabbling, let me get away. Gerardo goes 2nd, Milan 3rd, and POUGET being given the hurry up by Van Lagen, who's almost in the boot of the car there. Picard gets run out wide in the orange livery. Down through turn number 9, Speaker's Corner they come, and that is Van Lagen up over the curb and say, let me back in. Downhill they come. Alexandre ALBOUY is next in the queue in 7th in the white car. They're heading to the outside line as Picard goes for the inside against Van Lagen, and sideways goes the Dutchman. Off the road goes the Dutchman, and he's back on track, and he'll fall in. No, he's not back on track at all, is he? Because there's more runoff to explore. Now he's back on track, and he will drop in behind ALBOUY. David POUGET trying to make up the lost ground. That mirror still just about attached after the rub it had with Nicolas Milan early in the race, but Guyot is still getting away from the opposition here. Marc Guyot, the race leader, 2nd there, Anthony Gerardo, and Nicolas Milan running in 3rd place will try again to get up and past his teammate, his customer, and then try and go off after another of his teammates and customers. Marc Guyot in the lead, so it's good for the business this. 1, 2, 3 for Nicolas Milan's team. There is Jaap Van Lagen, making his debut in the championship, but going nicely. He was on pole position for yesterday's race. Didn't qualify so well for this, but is certainly pressing on, and let's see what he can do now about getting himself up through this leading gaggle as Guyot comes down to the chicane. He led at the end of the opening lap by 1.2 seconds, and after another frenetic lap, I suspect the gap is going to be even greater. So down through the gears, turn in, Gerardo goes deep into the chicane. Milan tries to challenge on exit, then you've got POUGET and the two-wheeling Thomas Picard. Heading up over the timing line now goes Marc Guyot. The gap 1.2 seconds last time, and let's see what it is this time through. 1.6 seconds. Into La Source goes the race leader, so the gap is up. Fastest lap is done by the man in 9th place, Jerzy Spinkovic. We've got driving standards flags coming for, again, dreaded track limits offences. Andreas Stucki, the most recent recipient of one. Anthony Gerardo has already had a warning about it as well, and it is Gerardo that heads that queue of cars, this freight train, for 2nd place. And now they need to stop squabbling, because Gerardo, as you see, a sideways Picard getting it all wrong and running out wide, coming up Radion. Gerardo, Milan and POUGET can see Guyot getting away, so they need to go after him, but no, Milan makes a move, tries to get up and past Gerardo, and POUGET goes with him. David POUGET almost hidden behind his championship rival. Up towards Les Combes they come, and they are all in fact in that little group quicker than Guyot, so the gap is down. Milan goes up to 2nd, and POUGET gets 3rd coming out of Les Combes, but Gerardo is back on the inside line. He's been here before and got the squeeze onto the dirt. What happens this time? He's afforded all the tarmac. Gerardo brakes as late as he can, turns into the corner and scrabbles through. So Gerardo goes 3rd, and Milan has gapped him by about, what, 2 lengths, if that. The battle for 5th in the meantime now has Alexandre ALBOUY ahead of Van Lagen, ahead of Picard, and Kevin Jimenez is right with them now in 8th place as they head down the hill. Number 72 is Jimenez, who tries to make it 3 wide there on the inside, heading in towards Pougon. There's just about room for the 3, and Jimenez gains 2 places in one move. Brilliant bit of driving that. Made the run on the inside line, stood his ground, and so Kevin Jimenez driving like a man inspired after being in the barriers in a very high-speed accident it was yesterday. The car repaired. It's about to be mogged. Yeah, that's Van Lagen making a move on the inside line. So Van Lagen mugs him into the pith path, goes through, takes the place. But Kevin Jimenez having gained 2, loses 1, but there's still plenty of time left in this race to be able to make the move back. Van Lagen comes down now towards the right at campus. Onto the power they go in towards Cours Paul Frère, and Van Lagen trying to keep Jimenez at bay. Jimenez in turn has got Thomas Piccard looking for a way back ahead of him. So this scrap again is going to change all the way for the next 17 minutes. Up front, Guyot still leads the way, but the gap is coming down. The fastest lap is still that of Jerzy Spinkovic, running in 9th place, and Jimenez goes past the scene of his big accident yesterday, looking for a way to get himself back up past the car of Jaap van Lagen, the Chefo Sport entry just up the road ahead. He locks up a little bit this time, Jimenez coming down towards the chicane. That brings Piccard onto the back of the train, and also next in the queue is Spinkovic then. So Jerzy Spinkovic, who was involved in the accident with Jimenez yesterday, not that far adrift. Leaders go by, and the gap is 1.6 seconds, although Milan has just done the fastest lap of the race. There he is. Alexandre Albouy leading the Challengers class, the GPA Racing entry. So Alexandre Albouy started 6th, he runs 5th for the moment, but Van Lagen, Jimenez, Piccard and Spinkovic are not that far behind and all trying to close up. So we have done 3 of a predicted 10 laps. There is Milan heading up through a Rouge. And now Van Lagen shaking off Jimenez, in fact, who is 2nd in the Challengers class, and Van Lagen trying to get onto the back of that leading line of cars. Uphill they go then towards Les Cons. Lap 4 we are on. Lead gap 1.6 seconds last time, as now Milan is under attack from Gerardo. Gerardo goes through on the board with these two side by side at Les Cons. POUGET gets his nose in front, there's contact, lots of tyres squealing and cars getting sideways. POUGET goes through, Milan just protects his place, and more tyre squeal is done for Thomas Piccard. He's got damage on the left-hand side, that was going into Les Cons, but Piccard rejoins. He was running in 8th place, but not anymore. He gets going, but badly delayed. So it is now Guyot leading from Gerardo 2nd, POUGET 3rd from Milan, from Van Lagen from Albouy. That means that Jimenez, I think, has got caught up in all of that and dropped out of the leading gaggle as well. Yes, because there is Spinkovic's look, who has come through in 7th place. And Jimenez has been a victim, like Piccard, of that drama, I fear, up at Les Cons. So they've got going again by the look of it, both of them, but time lost. So Jimenez having another of these rather yo-yo races, up and down the order he's going. Milan then back down to 4th place. Now they need to stop squabbling like this, don't they? They've got to try and work together, go after the race leader, because right now Marc Guyot is getting away up front. There he is. Now Gerardo might have done enough for the moment at least to shake off that pack behind. Let's see what he can do about catching the leader. Jimenez and Thomas Piccard delayed after their dramas, battled through as well. ALBOUY goes by with STEPHAN Polderman behind him, who had a mechanical drama yesterday and retired from the race, but going better today. So there's Guyot, the race leader. Gerardo in 2nd, POUGET, Milan, then Van Lagen and Albouy round out the top 6. Milan getting the run on the back of POUGET as they head through Blanchimont now up towards the chicane. These two probably the best 2 drivers in the championship, certainly when you look at their CVs. And down to the inside line, Milan looks but doesn't force the issue. Had that been the last lap, he might have been a bit more bold, but as it stands, he slots back in behind POUGET. Gerardo is wide, but quickly tries to get himself back onto the racetrack there. Maybe the track limits warnings and penalties of yesterday are starting to sink in. Lead gap is still 1.6 seconds. Fastest lap now, though, Van Lagen, who goes through in 5th. So the order is Guyot, Gerardo, POUGET, Milan, Van Lagen, Albouy. Up to 7th is Spinkovic, up to 8th is Paul Coquin, up to 9th is Nicolas ALBOUY, up to 10th is Polderman, 11th is Stuckey, 12th is Mayo, 13th is Steve Metz, down to 14th has gone Thomas Piccard, ahead of Mariano Alonso, Horn, Henrik Seibel, and Kevin Jimenez has not yet come through. So he, I fear, might have pulled off within the middle sector. The tracker map suggesting that the car is stranded, so he was involved up at Les Cons, but did he get away from there? Has the car expired elsewhere? So Kevin Jimenez, his weekend just gets no better after a good charge, getting himself into that leading gaggle. It seems he's out of the race now as Gerardo and POUGET and Milan 2nd, 3rd and 4th dive up towards Les Cons. We're on lap 5 and the danger is coming now from Jaap van Lagen, but all of this is playing into Guyot's hands. He's still got this advantage. It's not a massive gap, but it's a gap nonetheless. Milan thinks about making a move on POUGET there, but really they need to get themselves up onto the back of that leading yellow car. They drop downhill once again here. This is towards turn 9, Speaker's Corner, which is another section of the circuit at Spa where track limits is an issue, but the leading gaggle, at least for now, being pretty well behaved there, using the curb, yes, but not going the wrong side of it. So down towards Prawn, they turn through that left. Within the sectors this time, 3/10 pulled back by Gerardo against Guyot. So little by little the gap is coming down, but the downside for Gerardo is that with POUGET attacking him, at times he's got to go defensive, and that means he goes slower, and that means the gap opens up again. If they could stop squabbling for a lap and work together and bring down the gap, it would do them all good late race. We had one pretty big peloton yesterday for the bulk of the race, but right now it is Guyot trying to get away. He's still charging along, as is Van Lagen, who is taking Alexandre ALBOUY with him as they come up through the Cours Paul Frère for the 5th time. So pretty much at half distance now, because there will be that regulation lap tagged on at the end. Heading now into the left of Blanchiment. David POUGET looking a little bit more committed to trying to get up past the blue car of Gerardo ahead of him. There's a driving standards flag about to be issued for Michel Fay for disrespecting track limits, and the race leader is at the chicane with just under 11 minutes to go. Milan looks to the inside of POUGET. This time he is going to force the issue, gets right up alongside. They don't make contact, they do it absolutely right, side by side into and out of the chicane, up towards the timing line. Now they come, and Milan will claim the inside line for the next corner down towards La Source. So past the pits then, Guyot leads the way, and the gap has come down, 1.2 seconds, and with a good toe up towards Les Combes, Gerardo should be back at the races now. POUGET outside line, Milan inside for 3rd, and Nicolas will go ahead, will he? Yep, David POUGET gets forced out wide. That brings Van Lagen into the mix, because the blue and white car there, the white-nosed blue car of Chefo Sport, comes up on the inside as they drop down the hill. So Van Lagen goes ahead of POUGET as well. The order changing, 3rd, 4th, 5th now. But what we need to see next is that gap between the top two, and whether now Gerardo has got himself close enough to benefit from a toe as Milan mows the lawn coming up the hill there, 2 wheels on the grass. And yes, look, Gerardo going with Guyot, getting into the slipstream as they come up towards Les Combes. The gap is coming down between the race leaders. Milan 3rd, giving a toe to Van Lagen, who looks to the outside line but can't do it. In that first sector, another 3/10 pulled back by Gerardo on Guyot, and if they get themselves and start squabbling for the race lead, it'll bring Milan, Van Lagen, POUGET and ALBOUY all back into the mix as well. Downhill they dive once again into the braking zone, into the right-hander of Bruxelles. Milan runs a little bit wide there. That opens the door for Van Lagen, but it would only be the outside line heading down towards Bruxelles, so he's not going to be able to make a move there. Down towards Prawn they go. And Guyot actually on this section of the circuit is getting away once more. Nicolas ALBOUY, who is in 8th place, heads the train of cars with Paul Coquin and Andreas Stucki behind him. ALBOUY, who was the winner of the Challengers Cup yesterday, currently 3rd, because it is ALBOUY and Spinkovic the top 2. There is Stefan Polderman, who is heading the gentleman drivers category. He is in 11th place overall, he was at the start of the lap. René Steenmetz and then Horn are 2nd and 3rd, with Michel Fay 4th from Gabriel Alonso. So the Chefo Sport entry of ALBOUY goes through. Paul Coquin right behind him in the TB2S car. And Coquin looks for a way by as they drop now into Campus. The right-hander will run now towards the Cours Paul Frère once more, and then up towards the end of the lap where the race leaders are approaching already. So you've got still Marc Guyot just trying to edge away from Gerardo. Now, is this an opportunity for Coquin to have a go at ALBOUY? He's got to be mindful of the lights flashing behind him of Andreas Stucki, and a big lock-up by the race leader. Gerardo's under attack from Milan as they come down to the chicane. So Marc Guyot's advantage is retained, but that lock-up won't have done the Michelins any good. And if the pressure is coming from Gerardo and he's starting to get scrappy, that will give them optimism as well. 1.3 seconds is the margin now as they go over the timing line, heading into La Source. Girardeau defending on the inside line from Milan. There is Van Lagen in 4th place, David Pouget is 5th, Alexandre Albouy in 6th. They drop down the hill past the endurance pits. Milan then in the red car, slots in behind Girardeau, trying now to start the move to get up and past him on the run to Les Combes. And there is a 5-second penalty being given to Horn. That will be... Oh, and number 5, sorry. Girardeau and Horn are being given 15 seconds at the end of the race. So Anthony Girardeau, running second on the road, is being given a 15-second penalty at the end. It must be for track limits. And now Nicolas Milan comes up alongside him. And that's Van Lagen with his elbows out, getting in on the act as well. So up towards Les Combes they come. Side by side on the road for 3rd. Van Lagen goes ahead of Girardeau. He's dropping places on the road. He's off the road and back on again, plus this time penalty coming late race. So Horn gets 15 seconds. Girardeau gets 15 seconds as well. So the track limit warnings have been ignored, and now the penalties start to come. It might take a bit of unravelling, all of this, of course, as they drop now through Bruxelles. So Guyot led at the start of the lap by 1.3 seconds from Girardeau, but now it is Milan doing the chasing. Nicolas Milan in the red car in 2nd place. Jaap Van Lagen is 3rd. David Pouget is up to 4th. So just as the penalty was given by the race director, so Girardeau's race rather unravelled for him, because he's dropped back into the clutches now of Alexandre Albouy. So not only has he lost places, the time penalty is going to drop him further down the order. There is Guyot, the leader. It is a 1-2 for Nicolas Milan's team at the moment, Milan Competition. And there for 5th and 6th places, you've got Girardeau just ahead of a curb-hopping Alexandre Albouy as they come out of the pit path. Just under 6 minutes on the clock then. We're on lap 7 out of a projected 10. David Pouget turns through, and into Piff Paff comes the next battle pack with the recovering Thomas Picard now, getting himself up with the traffic. Kevin Jimenez's car did expire in the incident up at Les Combes, so 2 retirements for him. Big disappointment. Coquelin under attack as they turn up towards the Cours Paul Frey. At the front of this queue, 8th is Nicolas Albouy, and he can't get away, but equally they've not unseated him from that place yet. Behind him is now Andreas Stucki. Stefan Polderman is next, Coquelin having fallen away a little bit, and this is the leading group. Is there a bit of damage on the front of Pouget's car? Looks like the splitter might be a bit low and a bit broken on the front of that, but as he comes out of the chicane, Pouget is still there in 4th place. Even if he can't win, he knows how to bank points and win championships. But Guyot leads onto lap 8. The gap was 1.3 seconds. The gap is 1.5 seconds now between those two. Thomas Picard goes through, and another one being penalised is Nicolas Albouy. So Albouy will be given 10 seconds at the end of the race. So this is going to give the timekeepers an awful lot to try and factor in, as there to the inside line dives Andreas Stucki. He locks up, scrabbles into the corner, and actually managed to hang on to that place, because by the time Nicolas Albouy tried to turn in, he got a face full of Stucki, side by side as they come down the hill now. So it's going to be the inside line for the first part of Eau Rouge from the white car of Andreas Stucki. The inside line for the second element is going to go the way of Albouy, and actually he's got the job done even before they get to the corner. So brave stuff then. Nicolas Albouy goes back through, but the 10 seconds being added to his time, that's going to be bad news. And another one being given 10 seconds is number 1, the orange car in this group now, Thomas Picard. So Picard trying to gain places on the road, but just like yesterday, it looks as though so many penalties are going to be applied. It's going to be a very different result from how they cross the line to what we're going to have as the final classification. What is good, though, is that the race officials are clamping down on it. They're not letting the drivers run riot and using bits of the circuit that they should not be using to gain advantages, and people that do so get penalised quite rightly. Down towards Bruxelles now comes Nicolas Albouy, one of the penalised 4 that we have thus far. And Marc Guyot, the race leader in the first sector, was being caught again by Nicolas Milan to the tune of 0.4 per second. So the lead gap in real terms is still coming down. That's Paul Coquelin being run out wide by Picard and trying to get back onto the circuit. Now, Anthony Girardeau, having already been given a 15-second penalty, has been reported to the stewards now for abusing track limits. So the race director feels he can do no more. It's up to the stewards to do something about Girardeau's driving standards post-race. There to the inside line, you can see dives Stefan Polderman, and he locks up. Sorry, René Steenmetz locks up. It's a piff-paff, got away with that, but only just as he tries to make a move. The Dutch driver then going through the piff-paff. He got involved in an incident with Henrik Seibold yesterday, which earned him a penalty. The race with just over 2.5 minutes to go, plus the regulation lap at the end. So Thomas Piccart tries to find a way past Stefan Polderman. Nicolas Aubert at the head of this queue, but remember, he is going to get a 10-second penalty at the end of the race. Gerardo's situation would be worth discovering as well, ultimately, when the stewards have convened. So the race leaders go by onto lap 9. The clock will hit 0 on it, and so it is 2 more laps to go in the race as they're diving into the chicane on the outside line. Polderman almost runs out of road. Coquin gets up alongside, or tries to. Around the outside goes Piccart, and Aubert runs wide again, coming out of the chicane. The lead gap, though, is 1 second between Guyot and Milan, so it is coming down, and Nicolas Milan may well have timed this to perfection as another move is made. Stuckey to the inside of Coquin, and he goes through for 11th place at La Source. So what you've got here really is 8th and back, the second wave of cars, all stuck behind the cork in the bottle, Nicolas Aubert, but in real terms, it's going to be a very different outcome because Aubert and Piccart there have both got a 10-second penalty. This is for the race lead, and it's all bunched up nicely with a lap and a bit to go. It is Guyot, Milan, Van Lagen and Pouget. Any one of these four could win it. Thus far, they are penalty-free as they come out of Les Camps. Gerardo has dropped back into 5th place and has also fallen away by a length or two as Guyot locks up again, this time at Bruxelles. Heads downhill through the right, and you can see the all-red car of Nicolas Milan just inching up onto the boot lid of his customer, taking Van Lagen and Pouget with him. So can Milan, who thought he'd won yesterday, win this one? That's Aubert off into the tyres at high speed at Les Camps. So it's all kicked off in the second gaggle of cars, and into the tyre barrier quite heavily goes Nicolas Aubert. Race leaders down out of Bruxelles into Speaker's Corner. Let's see how it all developed. It was Thomas Piccart getting sideways, came across, and certainly not Aubert's fault. He was hit by an out-of-control Piccart. Into the barriers he went. Paul Coquin, number 29, is being given a 15-second penalty as well at the end of the race. So trying to keep an eye on all the penalties that are now flying, as Guyot, Milan, nose to tail for the race lead, come towards the right at Campus. Van Lagen has got Pouget all over him like a rash as well. And as they come up towards Blanchimont once again, it is up front then. Marc Guyot with Nicolas Milan right up behind him. So Guyot had that advantage early on of up to 1.6 seconds. It's all evaporated, and Nicolas Milan using all of that experience. He knows exactly when to push, and he's just chipped away, worked his way through the traffic. Little by little, using the toe to his advantage. He's caught up to Guyot, and he's ideally placed now to start the last lap and make a move for the race lead as they head into the chicane. Van Lagen is in 3rd, Pouget is 4th, and Van Lagen looking menacing as well, and so is Pouget. So it's between these four. Any one of them could be the race winner. Some of the story will be decided, no doubt, climbing up towards Les Camps. The next driver to be given a penalty, and it's a 10-second penalty, is number 51, Henrik Seibold. And he is down in 17th place. So race leaders, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a line. Gerardo has not quite caught back up, but these four, who to my knowledge are not being investigated for track limits as yet, they go now down towards Eau Rouge, and as they head into the left and right of Eau Rouge, then up towards Les Camps. Marc Guyot under huge attack now from Nicolas Milan, because as they climb the hill, Milan, look, with a tighter line, has got the speed. He makes the run up now towards the Les Camps left sequence. The incident at turn 7 is under investigation, that being what we saw a lap ago, as now Milan makes that move. Now, if Aubert's car is still in the tyres up there, there's going to be a yellow flag, and that potentially takes away one opportunity for him. There isn't a yellow flag being shown on the screens, though, is there? So Milan is possibly able to overtake. He elects not to do it anyway. There is Aubert's car on the exit of Les Camps. So almost half a lap done, and it is still Marc Guyot in the lead of the race. He's a double winner this year. Can he be a triple winner? Driving standards flag there being shown to Guyot. Look, you can see it flashing. So the light flashes down at Bruxelles for Marc Guyot, all to do with track limits now. But he still leads the way, and you've got this enormous 16-wheel Clio in the lead of the race. There are 4 of them as one as they come now for the last time out of Speaker's Corner. Milan is the wider of the lot there. Heading into Rouen, David Pouget in the white and yellow car, the winner yesterday on the corrected times. Slots into 4th place, but giving Van Lagen a hard time of it. So this is all, I suspect, going to be resolved at the bus stop as Milan presses on really hard through Rouen. Oh, so nearly going too wide there, but I don't think he's lost much ground as a consequence. Van Lagen is still under attack from Pouget as they come in towards the pith path now. The Frenchman all over the tail of the Dutch driver. Van Lagen having to defend, and that means he's not quite able to go after Milan, but Nicolas has dropped back, has he not? The driving standards flag was given to Guyot. It's also been shown to number 42, which is the car of Mariano Alonso, a little bit further back, the Spanish championship racer. But now, look, Guyot has, in that middle sector, got away by another half a second, so the gap stretches out. Milan, having got it slightly wrong at Rouen, did lose time. And into Blanchiment, is he close enough to benefit from a tow? Maybe. Is he brave enough to lunge up the inside against one of his customers? Possibly. He's ahead of Pouget, so he's outscoring him for the championship, which is good news. And Marc Guyot it is that leads the way as they come down towards the chicane for the last time, but Milan goes for the inside line. He's not really close enough, but Guyot locks up, and they're 3 wide for 2nd place, with Pouget being run out wide by Van Lagen. Milan right on the back of Guyot, but as they make the sprint up towards the line, Marc Guyot it is who is going to win race 2 of the weekend in Clio Cup Europe. Great race again, and Marc Guyot takes a 3rd victory of the season. Over the line he comes with 2nd Nicolas Milan, 3rd Jaap Van Lagen, 4th David Pouget. Another penalty is coming. It is for Andreas Stuckey. He will get 15 seconds. And Stuckey is on the inside line there in the white and black car, and he's going to sprint to the line. But ahead of him is another penalised driver, which is Thomas Picard. Now there's been a real old shuffle around in that group over the last few laps. Picard comes across the line 8th. But then the penalty comes, and so you end up with STEPHAN POLDERMAN being classified 8th. Gerardo, actually, even though he got a 15-second penalty, was so far ahead of the other gaggle, and they were given penalties as well, that he's ended up 7th. So Guyot, Milan, Van Lagen, the top 3, Pouget 4th, ALBOUY 5th, 6th Spinkovics, 7th Gerardo, although he's been reported to the stewards as I mentioned, 8th STEPHAN POLDERMAN, the winning gentleman, 9th René Steenmetz, 2nd gentleman, and 10th Mariano Alonso. It's great racing, Clio Cup Europe, and we have had possibly a little bit more in terms of damaged cars today than yesterday, but largely it is very, very clean. And look, they're the winning cars, still look like Clios. They are not crinkled and battered like you might have feared at some stages during the race. Marc Guyot, though, is a delighted man. He takes win number 3 of the season, and Patron comes across to say well done. So Nicolas Milan, it's a perfect result in a way. He outscores championship rival David Pouget, goes back into the lead of the championship, but one of his customers wins. So it's a happy camp all round. And Jaap Van Lagen, with the open face helmet there, has enjoyed his race as well. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of Jaap Van Lagen in Clio Cup Europe for the remainder of the season. But really good, proper one-mate racing that, with drivers trading places all the way through. Excellent to see. And let's have a look at how the leading drivers cross the line. Now, some of the penalties have been applied, but there might be more, of course, to come, with incidents being reviewed post-race. So provisionally, Marc Guyot wins from Nicolas Milan and Jaap Van Lagen. 3rd, David Pouget. 4th from ALEXANDRE ALBOUY and Jerzy Spinkovics. Anthony Gerardo 7th, ahead of STEPHAN POLDERMAN, with René Steenmetz and Mariano Alonso rounding out the top 10. Guillaume Mayo 11th, Thomas Picard's penalty drops him to 12th, Andreas Stuckey's penalty drops him to 13th, Paul Coquin's penalty to 14th, and Horn's penalty puts him 15th. So the winning challenger is Alexandre Alboy from Jerzy Spinkovics and Mariano Alonso, and STEPHAN POLDERMAN wins the gentleman drivers class from René Steenmetz and Horn taking 3rd. And as I mentioned, there are still a number of incidents to be reviewed, but for the moment that's the story of the race. And let's just remind ourselves how we got to that result. Look at the highlights then of the second race of the weekend for Clio Cup Europe. It began with David Pouget from pole position making that good start. 4th ultimately would be his reward, but he led down towards La Source. Cars turning their way out of the hairpin and fighting their way downhill, with Marc Guyot going 2nd and Nicolas Milan slotting into 3rd place. Anthony Gerardo ahead of Thomas Picard. A whole wave of cars plunging down towards Eau Rouge for the first time. The Michelin's rattling over the curb at the foot of the hill, And then it all got Larry coming out of Lecombe. Pouget squeezing Girardeau onto the grass. Pouget had already had a rub with Milan that did for the mirror, but as the cars accelerated downhill, Marc Guyot in the lead, getting away from the opposition. Out wide went THIBAUT BOSSY, who ultimately, after a pit stop, came home last and 19th. Anthony Girardeau trying to work his way through, and a brave effort by Kevin Jimenez, gaining 2 places on the inside line, diving downhill. Ultimately, though, Jimenez would get involved with Thomas Picard, and although Picard rejoined, Jimenez's car was so badly damaged, it was a retirement. Nicolas Milan, 2 wheels on the grass, heading up the hill, taking out Van Lagen with him as they tried to close on Girardeau for 2nd place and then close on Guyot for the race lead. Milan did work his way through to the head of that queue and then go after the race leader, and the gap came down as a sideways Picard bounced into Nicolas Aubert, and bang, another of the challengers out of the race. At the very end, Marc Guyot just had enough in hand with Nicolas Milan up behind him, but as they made the run towards the timing line, it was Marc Guyot that hung on to score race win number 3 of the season in Clio Cup Europe after another great race here at Spa-Francorchamps. So the drivers for the 3 categories will make their way in due course to the podium, and the winning driver Marc Guyot half a second to the good in the end from Nicolas Milan, and Jaap van Lagen taking 3rd place, and you could argue that his was one of the more impressive drives because Jaap van Lagen started 10th, so again using his experience to chip away through the order. The Belgian flag there flying, and it will fly on the podium as well, because for most of the races this weekend it has been decided by the championship organisers to have the Belgian national anthem, the Belgian flags, as a mark of respect really for what the country has been through, what the population has suffered of late with all the flooding and the terrible weather and the losses both to life and family, and so to acknowledge the suffering of the Belgian population. Belgian flags, Belgian anthem has been played over the weekend, the flags have flown, and I suspect we'll have that again on the podium. So cars into the pit lane, out on track some of the incident vehicles go to post, ready for their next activity. Still some great venues to go in Clio Cup Europe, with the Red Bull Ring, for example, in Valencia, just a week apart. Paul Ricard, early October, another trip to Monza, and then in the mid-November sunshine of Barcelona. So the championship will come to an end, but the series delivering great racing thus far, and a great way to see the championship unfold when you've got such consistent drivers as Pouget and Guyot. It takes a lot of commitment, of course, from the teams to do every round with all the travelling involved. As I say, they've already been to France, Italy, France, Germany, Italy, France, Hungary, Italy, Belgium, but the teams rewarding the commitment of Renault to put on this championship. And that's why you have these subgroups. For those that can't necessarily commit or find the funding to do the whole championship, these, for want of a better phrase, regional championships, these 4 groups, giving drivers something else to fight for. And Marc Guyot, who came here leading Group C, extending that advantage. The next stop after Spa is going to take the teams back to France, and then they will continue the championship from there. So there you've got the winning drivers then making their way up to the podium. And Marc Guyot with Nicolas Milan, and then Jaap van Lagen. That's the top 3. The officials trying to round up the class winners as well. Alexandre Albouy, who takes then a 4th win in the Challenger Cup. And as far as the gentlemen drivers are concerned, STEPHAN Polderman taking a 1st class win of the season. So Jaap van Lagen there in the white overalls. He's a recent recruit to the championship. He's not yet got the regulation Renault suit, but it'll come for sure. But Marc Guyot taking on some liquid. Very experienced Renault racer, as I was saying earlier on. And Nicolas Milan, at the moment, prepared the car. They're also getting himself a drink. Nicolas Milan, by some crude math, should now be back into the lead of the championship over David Pouget. And 3 experienced, canny drivers there, knowing exactly how to treat a long race by Clio standards, 25 minutes plus a lap, knowing when to push, knowing how to use the slipstream, how to work through the traffic, and that experience paying dividends. Now, whether there's anything lurking in the system for track limits, we'll have to find out post-race, but the main transgressors were being penalised during the race itself. So there the drivers await the call to get to the podium. And Marc Guyot, as I said, taking his third victory of the season. The first came in the 12th race of the year at Paul Ricard, and then he won the first of the 2 races that were held at Imola. So it was quite a long wait before he got the win, but now he's had a taste for it, coming more regularly, win number 3, and he was in that leading gaggle yesterday. Jaap van Lagen, yes, in the absence of Renault overalls, being given a Renault jacket at least to put on, so he got the right badges in part, good thinking. And Jaap van Lagen for Chefo Sport has been a big hit this weekend. Yes, he's a very experienced racer, not necessarily in Clios, but yep, he is now a Clio Cup Europe racer, and let's hope he stays on for the rest of the season. So Jaap van Lagen explaining how his race came to get him up from a lowly grid position to 3rd. It was a really good drive, that, from 10th on the grid. And I think the Chefo Sport team will be well pleased. Jaap, who was 4th on the amended result yesterday, 3rd provisionally today. And the drivers prepare themselves for the podium, because I think now we're just about ready for the overall podium at least. And the organisers have at least 3 drivers that they need. So Jaap van Lagen is called forward for 3rd place. 2nd place goes to the championship leader, Nicolas Milan, who says well done to Jaap van Lagen. And Marc Guyot is the race winner. Marc Guyot, his 3rd victory of the season, and he stands atop the Clio Cup podium here at Spa. So well done to Marc Guyot, who takes a 3rd victory of the season, and a very impressive drive indeed it was to maintain that advantage and to be able to fend off the opposition on that last lap, because despite the pressure, he had a huge queue of cars behind. He didn't make a slip. If anything, it was a slip really from Nicolas Milan, who was doing the chasing and ultimately ran out wide, cost himself the opportunity to fight back on the way down towards the chicane. So the 3 winning drivers make their way now off the podium, and the next group of drivers being readied. So there's the challengers podium, there is the gentleman drivers podium, and they will be called forward in a moment. The winning challenger being ALEXANDRE ALBOUY, the winning gentleman being STEPHAN POLDERMAN. Stephan, another of the Chefo Sport drivers, ALEXANDRE ALBOUY for GPA Racing. And as soon as they are ready, so the drivers will be called forward, but just from what we understanding, it might be actually that the class podiums are going to be done at Renault's HQ in the paddock. So that, I suspect, means that after 2 great races at Spa, we can say goodbye and look forward to your company for the next round of the championship. But after 2 excellent races in Clio Cup Europe at Spa-Francorchamps, Nicolas Milan gets back into the lead of the championship, and from David Anderson, it's goodbye.